Okay, before I explain what's going on, I thought I'd try to make one of these videos, so just hang in there for me. I appreciate it. I think this video is pretty important. This is not the video I wanted to make today. I would rather have talked about a follow-up video to a video I made 6 or 7 months ago that's actually trending and doing very well. Secondly, it is raining today, and I don't know if I risk my camera getting wet. I am in my shed where all my components to my solar panels are. And I wanted to go through this one more time. I went through this fairly thoroughly throughout the summer, but I guess in all actuality, it can get confusing, and if you're not consistently repetitious about this information, it just doesn't make sense. This is where my electric power plant is. This is everything we need for the power plant except the solar panels. So I'm going to try to go through this in somewhat of a detailed list because I've had a few people request, I want to stress that word, request more videos on this subject. So, you know, being repetitious, I'm being a little sarcastic here, and I'll get to that point too in just a minute. Being repetitious and talking about things that people want information on might be a good idea, but you know, it is what it is when you're the master of the universe. What I have is I have 12 100-watt solar panels. They're 12-volt solar panels, and each one of them is about 5 amps. Now, when I say that, when I say 12 volts, they're not actually 12 volts. They're, I think, 20 volts. Yeah, 20 times 5. So when you look at wattage, you look at your volts times amps. So 20 volts times 5 amps. Now, how can a system that is a 12-volt system need 20 volts? Well, it's not exactly 12 volts. A 12-volt battery isn't actually a 12-volt battery. A 12-volt battery is usually a 12.3 volt battery, and that 0.3 is very critical. At 12.3 volts, your battery is at its bare minimum of use. It's starting to get to a point where you need to charge that battery. And typically what they say is that's at 50% of your usable battery. As a matter of fact, in order to get fully charged, your battery needs to get up to about 14.3, 14.4 volts. My inverters don't allow for 14.4, so I've actually dropped the charge to 14.3. So when your battery is low, your meters will read 12.3 volts. And so when you start to charge them up, your battery is going to start consuming a lot of amps. And as the voltage rises, the amps drop. So volts rise, amps drop. So first you're low volts, high amps, and then you start to charge, and it's going to reverse itself. But it's all wattage, no matter how you look at it. We are running a DC, direct current system, and changing it into an AC system. And it's not complicated if you can just keep track of the components. So we have, like I said, 12 100-watt solar panels, and that gives us 1200 watts of power on a sunny day. That's important to say because people seem to think that more solar panels means more energy, and it doesn't. I mean, there's a point where you're just kind of at saturation point. Now, there are other systems. You can have a 24-volt system or a 48-volt system and all that kind of stuff. And the reason I don't do that, the primary reason I don't do it is because my charge controllers shut down when I try to cross wire. So I'm not even going to try to explain that. If you want a 48 system or a 24 system, I would suggest that you go and learn how to do that elsewhere. This is a 12-volt system. It works fine for me because we can buy all the components easily at Walmart or Amazon. Batteries, you can buy, and it just isn't that confusing because everything's a direct wire. And as long as you remember, red goes to red, black goes to black, your system is fine. But when you start cross-wiring and doing different things to try to change 12 volt into 48 or 24 volt, whatever you want to do, it can get confusing quite quickly. The solar panels start to bring energy into this room, and the way they do that is it goes through what's called a charge controller. Now I have 2 charge controllers. 6 of my solar panels go through one, the other 6 go through the other one. And I did that because of, I guess, a mistake when I first developed the system. These charge controllers, the instructions and the selling information and all that on Amazon was written, I guess, in Chinese and then translated English, so it didn't make exact, clear sense, but I didn't make a mistake. I just didn't understand it. So I'm not going to get into this. However, these charge controllers I'm very happy with, and there's no brand name to them. Everybody's going to ask me what the brand name is. That's what they look like. So if you get on Amazon, it's just a solar MPPT charge controller. If you want me to recommend a charge controller, this is the only one I know, and I really like it. But if you're going to have a system over 600 watts or 6 solar panels at 5 amps, remember I used Rich Solar. They're pretty cheap. They're like $80 a piece. I mean, they're not horribly expensive. And the nice thing about Rich Solar is they consume more solar when it's really hot. And that's important because as the temperature of your solar panels go up, your voltage actually drops on them. There's a scientific mathematical calculation to the whole thing too, so it's not like some strange phenomenon. They know about it. So the other thing I want to mention while I'm at it is I keep my solar panels on the ground for several reasons. One of the reasons is if they stay cooler than when they're up on a stand or anything. I think it's absorbing some of that coolness from the ground, comes up and kind of cools them down a little bit. But I've went out with a laser thermometer, so I keep them on the ground. The other reason I keep them on the ground is when severe storms come through, I can turn them all over, upside down, put a piece of metal over it. That way when it hails, it doesn't damage the solar panels. Another reason I keep them on the ground is I live in a pretty wooded area, which is kind of the romance of living here. But as the sun moves around throughout the year, shading takes place at different locations, so I can move them quite easily. So the solar panel sends the energy into the charge controllers. Now the charge controllers do a lot of different stuff, but essentially it works like a battery charger for your car. So the battery charger takes the energy from your wall, changes it in 12 volt, and then puts it into your battery, and as your battery's charging up, it reduces the amps and increases the volts, and just same thing I just explained. Well, the only difference between a battery charger and a charge controller is instead of taking AC and making it into DC, it takes DC and changes it into more volts or more amps, whatever the battery needs at the time, so there's no wasted energy. The MPPT, that's what's so critical. The MPPT changes the wattages or the volts and the amps as the battery requires it. Those old standardized charge controllers, it was just one set volt, one set amp, and it didn't really do anything to maximize the energy or make the energy more efficient. Then the charge controller sends it to the batteries, and so the batteries charge up. During this process, energy can be now transformed into AC energy. So DC energy, your batteries, DC, just like your car, these are basically car batteries. Now these car batteries, you can get at Walmart. Now I know a lot of people wanted me to use lithium ion batteries. I mean, every time I make a video like this, and I'm pretty convinced it's a troll now because I've mentioned it way too much, I'm not getting them. And if you mention it in the comment section, it is to the point where it is quite aggravating to me. So don't mention it. I'm just going to delete the comment. I'm not even interested in it. I've explained myself until I'm blue in the face why I don't want them. So if you want lithium ion, then by all means you should go get them. That's your prerogative. It's your choice. That's not what I'm going to do, and I'm not even going to sit here and try to sell it because I'm not interested. The key selling point of this is they last forever, even though people seem to think they don't. They'll last at least 8 years, and when you do the math, they are cheaper. Replacement costs, maintenance costs, and all that stuff. So you can get these at Walmart. These are RV marine batteries. They're the biggest ones you can get at Walmart. I would read the numbers off to them, but I don't have my glasses on. But you go over there, and they're like $100 or $110, someplace like that, in the battery section at Walmart. Now, when I say this, one of the things that people with lithium-ion batteries tell me all the time is, well, you only get 50% of the battery. Yeah, it's kind of false advertising with these batteries. I do agree with that. They say it's a 100-amp battery. It's not. You can only use half the battery. Remember 12.3 volts? That's all you can use. There's still more amps in it. There's still more volts in it, but you can't use it. So it's really just a 50 amp hour battery. But when you put your mind to that and you do that part of the math calculation, you just realize, oh, I got to get an extra battery. So if you want a 100 amp battery, you got to get two. Just look at it as, yeah, it's false advertising. That's not a bad thing, other than the false advertising. It's not a bad thing. And in the end, it still comes up cheaper than these battle-born lithium-ion batteries that I'm supposed to get. So now the batteries are charged or are charging either way. So you take that energy and you put it into an inverter. Again, you can buy these inverters at Walmart. This one is from Amazon. So now we have, I'm just going to repeat the list of things that you need. You have the solar panel, Rich Solar from Amazon, about $80 a piece for 12 volts. Then you have the charge controllers. I have two of them. And again, those are about $100 each, I think. I don't remember exactly, $80 to $100 each. So if you have 6 panels, you're only going to spend $80. If you have 12 panels, then you're going to spend $160 to $200. Like I said, the batteries are $100 each. I have 8 of them. I'm not saying you need 8 of them. That's just what I have. What I did is over time, I just kind of extended out how many I needed. I buy an extra one and buy an extra one until I finally got to a point where I actually think I got it nailed down now. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Batteries come into the inverter. The inverter, 1,000 watt inverter is about $100. Then I have a 2,000 watt inverter down here at the bottom. So I'll turn it on so you can see the light. You can see that this one is a bigger one. And then I have this smaller one. Now the smaller one I run for the house all the time. The bigger one I run for bigger objects like the well pump. If this is on, the inverter is on and not being used at all, I unplugged everything from it and I just left it on, it uses 2 amps an hour. So over a 24 period, remember my battery is basically a 50 amp hour battery, it would use 1 battery. If I didn't charge it, it would use 1 battery per day. So I shut it off because that's a lot of amps. This one, on the other hand, just uses 1 amp. It is just a regular outlet. I think you can see that. Just a regular house outlet. So it's taking energy from the batteries, which comes in here from the back. You can see the red wire. And then outputs it to house energy. And then if I just wanted to charge the batteries with a generator, I start the generator up and I plug a battery charger into the generator. The generator produces electricity, which powers the battery charger, which charges the batteries. So basically 4 components: your solar panel, your charge controller, your battery, and your inverter. Of course, if you wanted to have an extra backup source of electricity, you'd have a generator and a battery charger. So here's what I want to address is, and I get people saying this all the time, and I get emails saying I'm too repetitive. And I don't feel like I need to really explain myself too much, but in this case, I almost responded to the guy because it really irked me. First of all, he started out with, I'm not a troll. I know you think I'm a troll, but I'm not a troll. Well, if you have to say that, then you know you're a troll. Then he explains why I think he's a troll, because his behavior, and he's always been like this. Well, if you're just a mean person and you're not contributing to the conversation in any positive manner, then I don't want you in my comment section. That's kind of the definition of a troll, is if you get off course and you're not contributing to the positive experience of living off grid, then you're just being negative. And I don't see why I'd want to listen to negative comments all the time. So he's already started out with, I'm not a troll, but he is a troll. So he's already got me on the defensive. And then he says, I watch your channel all the time, but you're very repetitive. Okay, that's probably why I think you're a troll, because you're already criticizing my channel. I'm repetitive because people ask me questions and I try to cover their questions when asked. Yes, I've talked about the solar panels many times, but I'm always asked many times. Sheila, I want to mention Sheila. She's a very sweet lady, and she watched every one of my videos, and she is still asking for information, and I think that's wonderful. She wants to live off grid, but she's trying to do it on her own, and she's trying to learn. That's great. That's a positive contribution to the channel. But then what he wants me to do is give him a list of my videos of solar panels so he can go and watch them again, because he wants to buy these solar panels. And he compliments me through the rest of the email. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. You want me to spend an hour or so coming up with a list of videos so you can rewatch or be repetitive, because that's what you're going to do. You're going to repeat watching the video. It's not even a unique video. It's a video you've already watched that you want to watch again, but you didn't think to write down the title of the video. So you want me to spend an hour doing it. Or, even better yet, why not just make another video? Because at least 2 people would like to have this information. Yourself and Sheila would like to have this information, and it's not going to take me an hour. And the other thing is a few thousand people is going to get to watch this video. So I repeat videos because that's the best way to learn. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about catastrophic event hitting us. So if I can inspire you to learn everything you can so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.